Quebec is on the verge of passing legislation that would require all communication between refugees and the Quebec government to take place in French after 6 months in order to, quote, foster integration. Critics are blasting this as unreasonable, given the long waiting lists for French language training and the general difficulty of learning new languages as an adult, saying it will prevent refugees from accessing much-needed government services.
Okay, so that sounds a lot like the American, speak English or die or something like that.
It kind of is, but you know what? I think we Americans are better about that than they are in Quebec specifically. They're real weird about their French in Quebec. I think in part because it's a province of Canada where most people speak French. Granted, most people do speak English there too, but for almost everyone there speaks French, and for most it's their first language. And this is not the first sort of Quebec, we're all about doing everything in French. We have to protect our cultural heritage of speaking French kind of thing. I still think it's stupid, but...
Well, I mean, maybe it's not stupid because, look at it this way. The people coming into Quebec, they are, being threatened because of their language. They have to learn another language, but there is another group here dealing with the stereotypes, and I would say that's the French in general. Because here's my problem: if a white dude said this, I'd be all, that dude's a total sorry. And if an English speaking white dude said,
these guys are definitely white.
Yeah. I would be all like, that guy's a total jerk, man. That's lame. Total jerk. But if a French speaking person says this, I'm all, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
See, I think that's kind of what they're counting on, because I don't know. I think we Americans often don't have the ability to recognize like European style racism, because in our schools we learn about American racism. And so we kind of just feel like Europe isn't racist when like they are so racist. And I know Canada's not in Europe, but like
they wish they were.
Right. They wish they were. And like Quebec, these are people who emigrated from France a long time ago, and they're still like real clingy to their sort of French Quebec sort of identity. Like it's the same thing. It's the same thing as having Confederate flags on your truck and going around, rah, rah, this is our land.
I don't know if it's quite the same, but also I'll make the argument. I've wondered this about Europe, and because I think a lot of people have a hard time comprehending racism and culturalism. And, Europe is basically just a bunch of white people that hate each other.
Right. Yeah. Well, Europe has never had a civil rights movement the way we have in America. And really, Canada kind of hasn't either. Like, Canada has had its issues with the indigenous population, but mostly, in fact, Canada, I would say that's why we're so rebellious, is basically the population of the United States, 1776. All the people who wanted to rebelled, stayed here, made babies. All the people who didn't, they went north. Well, kind of.
There are much more docile people up there.
Okay, I don't know if I can endorse that.
All right, I just made that up.
It feels like, I don't know. It kind of feels like it, though, doesn't it?
That's
like
culturalist, though, is my point.
So, I don't know where I'm going from this. Requiring people to learn French in 6 months, I think, is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're willing to pay for it, I think it's awesome. We should all have an education system that good, but making them do it, of course.
Yeah, because it's sort of like, and there's a lot of things that are unclear about how this law works, because there's a bunch of provisions about like, if life and limb are at risk, then it's fine. But it's like, why else would a refugee be contacting the Quebec government, right? Like they're not going to contact you because they need help moving their sofa, right? It's going to be something urgent no matter what. So it's like, there's a lot of weird stuff about this legislation, but it in general feels like just cultural, grandstanding. We want everyone here to know French. Why? The rest of the country speaks English, and everyone there speaks English too.
Yeah,
So,
I can guarantee you, their kids will know it.
yeah, exactly.
It's not like their kids are going to grow up like not speaking the local language. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, every once in a while somebody does, but it's not common.
No, it's not. And
Plus,
kids
this is the
learn
problem with
languages
laws in
fast.
general. The problem with laws in general. I have a hard time of saying like politically what side I'm on because I believe in less laws. For one, I think
Sure,
when a law
yeah.
is passed, there shouldn't be sneaky other little laws slipped in. It should just be that law. And here's an example of a weird thing. Okay, we're going to make everybody speak English. No problem. What about those who can't speak French?
Right.
What about those who can't speak at all? Okay, well, they're up in Quebec. Are they going to learn ASL or SEE sign language? Which one are they going to have to learn? And there's a lot of variables. This guy knows French, but does he know it well enough?
Right. Yeah.
And did he pass the class? He didn't pass the class because he has learning disabilities that we haven't figured out yet, but we're going to send his butt home. It's just, I believe in I believe in laws. Don't get me wrong. We need lots of laws. We need lots of stuff to make stuff happen. But I think we need to make sure that laws are all encompassing. And if they can't be, it's probably not a great place for a law.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many gray areas where it's not clear where this would work. And also it's like these guys are refugees, worth noting. Like these are not economic immigrants. These are not people who are like came to Canada in search of a better life. They came there in search of technically a better life, any life, like in the sense of, because if they get sent home, they'll die.
We'll save you if
right. If you
can learn French in 6 months, starting now.
Such a hoity-toity, do they also have to learn the harpsichord?
Right. Yeah,
do they need to know Mozart's concertos? Like as long as they're like contributing, that's I think the most.
You haven't found the fine line in between the frilliness levels of a classic shirt and some level of mockery. So you're
exactly. Right, yeah. Your outfits have been called poserish and insufficiently punk. So
I'm sorry, when we cook it, we call it Hassenpfeffer.
God.
One scientist foresaw the day the world ended.
There are two forms of life fighting for survival out here in this valley, and only one of them can win.
I'll talk to the girls in the morning.
The girls?
Yes. They should bear children as soon as possible.